So the purpose of what we're doing here today is we're going to review for the quiz because your vocabulary quiz is today. So we're going to review just by me asking you questions, and then you can unmute and answer. And then we'll also play a Kahoot. So if you have the Kahoot app on your phone, or I guess maybe iPad as well, get that up and running. If you don't have the Kahoot app, it's Kahoot. If you have the ability to download apps, it's a free app that you can use to play games and review for quizzes, and that's how we're going to use it today. And so if you're watching this later, not live, obviously the Kahoot is done, but those of you who are live are going to be able to play the Kahoot, review for the quiz, and there is a fabulous prize you will win if you are the highest scorer on the Kahoot. So before I jump into all that, though, real quick, yesterday, since I was gone and there wasn't a Google Meet yesterday, I just want to see if there's any questions about your animal project that you've been working on that I could answer, because people who are at home, technically you could work on that today if you wanted. So any questions from anyone about the animal? All right. So if you have a question and you just want to ask it more one-on-one, feel free to stick around for the end. Also, people who are quarantining, please also stick around for the end as well. I'm going to take attendance at the end, but also the quarantiners, I want you to stay to the end too, because I want to touch base with each of you about when you're coming back, just so I have a really good sense of that, who's going to be out for how long. Let's see, what else do I need to go over? Oh, okay, so this was a thing that I realized could be an issue. We've been taking notes, right, over the last 2 weeks, and some of you might have your ceramic notebook here in class because I wasn't here yesterday to remind you to take your notebook home with you. So that's a frustration for me that I did not think about that ahead of time. So here's what I would suggest. We're going to have this review session now. What I would encourage you to do, if you don't have your ceramic notebook in front of you, get any old sheet of paper now and just take really quick, brief notes as we're going over these practice questions, because basically the practice questions are the real questions. So, so you can jot down notes as we're doing this review that you can use on the quiz. And if you have your notes from over the last 2 weeks, you can use that on the quiz too. So I apologize for those of you whose ceramic notebooks might be here in the classroom that I did not remind you to take those home. I apologize for that. So any questions you guys have before we jump into the review? I'm going to share my screen with you then. And we'll start with the PowerPoint review. Okay, can someone confirm for me that you see the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So today's quiz is going to be worth 30 points. There are 15 questions, so obviously some of the questions will be multi-point, like one question might be worth 2 or 3 points. Everything is going to be short answers, so you can just give me the 1 or 2 or 3 word answers needed to answer the question. They do not have to be in complete sentences. The quiz is going to be available on Schoology till midnight on Sunday. So this is for the kids who are doing the Science MCA right now and can't be live on our Google Meet and can't take the quiz today. The quiz will be open until Sunday night. So theoretically, everybody would have the weekend to do the quiz, but I would strongly encourage you to do the quiz right after we do this review session, so it's all fresh in your noggin, so you will do the best job possible on that quiz. The quiz is resumable, there's no time limit, it's open notes. Please don't go searching for the answers online. It's always really obvious when someone has the most scientific answer to the question that I've asked. It's pretty obvious that that's just been copied and pasted off of Google. So I'm looking for the answers I gave you, okay? Not the answers the interwebs give you, okay? So it should really come from our review session, your notes. That's what I want your answers to come from, please. Okay, so I'm just going to ask these questions. If you can unmute yourself to give me the answer, that's how this is going to work, all right? So somebody unmute yourself and tell me, what is the type of clay, the name of the clay that we are using?
Stoneware.
Stoneware, very good. At what temperature does stoneware become permanent?
2,100 Fahrenheit.
2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. Or how would you express that same temperature, but in the ceramic measurement?
Cone 6.
Cone 6, very good. And for the quiz, you will need to know both 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit and cone 6. Next, wedging. We wedge for 3 or 4 different reasons. Can somebody tell me what is one of the reasons why we wedge our clay?
Pops the air bubbles.
Pops the air bubbles, very good. What's another reason we wedge?
Gets rid of excess moisture.
Gets rid of excess moisture, good. What's another reason we wedge?
To mix it?
To mix it, absolutely. Very, very good. Those are the 3 main reasons, the reasons I would probably be asking for on the quiz. Does anyone have a 4th reason that why we wedge that you think is important? I think in your notes, I also mentioned that it helps compact the clay, especially if you have like multiple chunks of clay that you've put together. But the 3 reasons that you just mentioned, to mix, to pop air bubbles, and to dry it out a little bit, those are the 3 main reasons why we wedge. All right, somebody tell me what does it mean to score the clay?
To mark up the edge of the clay.
Yes, exactly. To rough it up, to prepare it for joining. What does it mean when we slip the clay?
You put slip on it and then you stick it together?
Exactly. Slip is like the glue that's going to help it stick together. And then finally, what is melding? What do we do when we're melding the clay?
Blend it together with some extra clay.
Yes, exactly. You're blending it together so we can't see the seam where they came together. So when you are joining 2 pieces of clay, first you score, then you add slip, then you meld. Next, somebody tell me, what is plasticity?
It's the first stage that the clay is in, where the clay platelets, since they're flat, they're able to stretch out and move really easily.
Exactly, yes. So plasticity is clay's ability to stretch and hold. That's a really important part of the definition. It stretches and holds, and it's because of those platelets, those little platelets that slide and stick together because of the surface tension with the water. So it's important to know that plasticity is clay's ability to stretch and hold, and it can do so because it's made up of platelets. Good. So this first project that we've been working on is a pinch pot project where we're using pinching as our primary building technique. Somebody tell me, what is the most important tool when you're making a pinch pot?
Your fingers?
Your fingers, exactly. I think I mentioned this when we were starting the project, but I wanted to reiterate, really, like, we can think of our paper clips or our needle tools or whatever as our tools, but really these 10 tools at the ends of your arms are the most important tools, especially on a pinch pot, because that's what is shaping and forming the clay. Good. All right, so that was kind of our first week notes. I don't know if that clump was exactly all from the first week, but kind of more or less from the first week. Okay, so now we move on to week 2 notes, the stages of clay. There were 5 stages. I did not give you all these 5 stages of notes on the same day. I kind of split those stages up, but let's see if you remember them. Somebody tell me, and I'm going to mix these up to kind of throw you a little bit. Somebody tell me, what is the stage of clay where the clay is totally dry, no more water in it, it's ready to be fired the first time?
Bone dry?
Bone dry, exactly. And bone dry also is very fragile. It might seem like it's really tough and strong, but it's incredibly fragile. Okay, now I'm going to mix it up again. Somebody tell me the stage where your clay is totally shiny and it's food safe and it's colorful and it's been fired the second time.
Glazeware?
Glazeware. Yep, absolutely. That is the final stage our clay goes through. All right, next, somebody tell me, what is the stage where our clay is really soft, kind of weak, but it's really easy to work with?
Plastic stage.
Plastic stage, absolutely. The very first stage when it comes out of that bag or comes out of that bin. Next, somebody tell me, what is the stage where the clay has been fired the first time? It's now permanent. It's ready to be glazed, but it's not food safe yet.
Bisqueware.
Bisqueware. Yep, absolutely. That's probably going to be the hardest stage to remember because the word bisque is such a weird word. But yes, that stage is the bisqueware stage. It's been fired the first time, it's permanent, and it's ready to paint glaze on it. And then the only stage I haven't talked about yet is the magic stage, where there's still moisture in the clay, but it's a little bit more dry, so it's stronger. What stage is that?
Leather
Leather
hard.
hard.
Leather hard. Yes, very good. So just to review the stages in order, it's plastic, leather hard, bone dry, bisqueware, glazeware. Okay, those are your 5 stages. All right. Next question I have for you. What is slaking? What does it mean when we slake our clay? What is happening?
It's the process of making a slip when you put bone dry clay into water.
Absolutely, that is the perfect definition. It is the process of making slip, melting the dry clay by using water, melting it down into its platelets. Yes, very good. That is slaking. Also a Pokemon, I think, is the slaking. So we talked about composition. Somebody tell me generally, what is composition?
The way a piece of artwork is arranged.
Yes, exactly. It's how you put the pieces together for the overall arrangement of the work of art. There's 2 kinds of composition we talked about. One of them is a type of composition where everything is in a line and it's very stable and it leads our eye left to right. What kind of composition is that?
Static.
Static, right. Then we talked about the kind of composition where things are arranged in a circular format, so it leads our eye in a circle. What kind of composition is that?
Dynamic.
Dynamic, very good. 2 ways of making a sculpture we talked about. We primarily are using one of these ways for this animal project, but you might also be using this other way when you're adding texture or facial features. So what are the 2 ways of making a sculpture?
Additive and subtractive.
Additive and subtractive. Additive, of course, is when you're adding and adding and adding more clay to build out the features of your creature. Subtractive is when you're carving clay away to reveal those finer details on your sculpture. I should also point out, a sculpture, it's what we're making right now. It's primarily a 3-dimensional work of art. Like your animal that you're making is primarily a sculpture. Sure, you might be able to put a plant in there, or you might be able to put your jewelry inside that little container once the lid is on. But its primary function is to be an interesting work of art. By contrast, here's this mug that I'm drinking my tea out of. This is not a sculpture. This is a vessel. Its primary function is to hold tea for me to drink this morning. So I just wanted to point out the difference between a sculpture, which is mostly non-functional, and a vessel, which is primarily functional. Okay, somebody tell me, what is a kiln?
Good morning, Woodbury High School. This marks the first break in your MCA science test.
Oh, MCA, aren't you guys glad that you're not here taking that today?
Give you directions, and you will be dismissed from your testing room. You will be able to either go to the cafeteria to wait.
You guys can unmute and answer the question. Don't worry about that. What is a kiln?
The oven that bakes our clay.
Exactly. That is a really great way to express it, is the oven that heats the clay up to that point where it is hot enough to melt and fuse those platelets together.
You will resume the test at 10:20.
Just distracting. There's 2 different types of explosion
Please wait for directions
in...
from the proctor.
Oh, she finished. There's 2 different types of explosions. Somebody tell me, what are the 2 things that could make your pot explode in the kiln?
Water and air.
Water and air. And which one of those is worse?
Water.
Water, absolutely. Because those water molecules trapped in between the clay platelets, as they start to boil, they will shatter your project from the inside out. So 2 types of explosions, air and water. water is definitely worse. What is the name? There's two kinds of firings your pots will all go through. What is the name of the first firing?
Bisque firing.
The bisque firing, correct. And so the bisque firing heats up the pots to the point where they melt and fuse together. Then we glaze the pots. They come out, they're bisqueware. We glaze them. We put them in the second firing. What is the name for that second firing?
Glaze firing.
Glaze firing, right. And that's where the glazes melt and they form that candy coating, colorful shell on the surface of our pots. Good. So in which of those two firings could something blow up?
Bisque.
Bisque, yes, exactly. Nothing will ever blow up in the glaze firing. So that is the firing we need to really watch and do really slowly. So it's less likely that things would blow up. All right, so that's kind of it. That's our notes in a nutshell. I'm going to move on to the Kahoot next. So if you haven't downloaded that Kahoot app, or if you haven't opened the app yet, do so now. If you can't download it, then just watch along. You're going to be able to watch from my screen, and you can just kind of play along in your head. Because again, it's going to be good practice for the quiz because the format of the questions on the Kahoot are going to be very similar to the format of the questions on the real quiz. Okay, so I am going to go out of my PowerPoint and I'm going to go to the Kahoot. So the way that this works is I am going to start the Kahoot. And it's going to give you a code. So as soon as that code is up on the screen, or that pin, sorry, you're going to be able to join my Kahoot with your phone or with your device. So here we go. The Kahoot number, the pin number is 385-9983. And I would strongly encourage you to use your actual real name for the Kahoot instead of a weird joke name, because the person who scores highest on this Kahoot will be exempt from taking the quiz. You'll get a perfect score on the quiz. You won't have to take the real quiz. This Kahoot will be your actual quiz. So it is a good award to win. So you do want to try your best. I'm going to wait another, maybe 30 seconds for anybody else to join in that can join in. While we're waiting for folks to join in, I do want to remind you that I have not taken attendance yet. I'm going to take attendance at the very, very end of this, and I'm going to ask the people who are quarantining to stick around after attendance so I can touch base with you guys about kind of where things are at for you. Okay, so this seems like all the people who are going to be joining on to the Kahoot. So let's get started. Here we go. First question, you're going to select multiple answers, or a single answer. What is the name of the clay we are using? Select the answer on your phone. Stoneware, absolutely. That is the name of the clay we are using. Claire, got to it fastest. Good job. All right, next question. At what temperature does our clay become permanent? (2100°F), cone 6. Very good, very good. And Claire holds on to the lead. All right, next. You're going to put these in the correct order. What are the steps to connecting clay pieces? Put them in order. You can slide around the little colored blocks until they're in the correct order and then hit submit. First, you make the pieces, then you score the pieces, then you add slip to the pieces, and then finally you meld them together. And Claire hangs on to that lead. All right. You're going to select all the reasons why we wedge our clay. There are more than one. So select all the reasons that are correct. Well, I'm so glad that nobody selected we wedge because it makes the clay taste better. Good job. Yes, we wedge to mix the clay, to dry it out, and to pop our air bubbles. All right, Claire hangs on to the lead. Krish, a close second. Here we go. What happens when we slake dry clay? We get slip. That's right. Absolutely. When we slake our dry clay, we get slip. And Krish takes the lead. All right, next. When making a pinch pot, what is your most important tool? That was really fast. Good job, everybody. And Krish holds on to his lead. Next question. What is the name of the machine that fires our clay? That was really fast again. The kiln fires our clay. And Krish hangs on to that lead another time. All right. What could make your pot blow up? Select all the correct answers. Water and air. Both of those things needed to be selected. And Krish hangs on to the lead. Here we go. Next question. What are the qualities of clay in the plastic stage? Select all of them that are correct. Clay that is plastic is soft. It is easy to work with. It is not very strong. And I'm glad that nobody selected ready to be fired. Plastic clay is not ready to be fired. And Krish hangs on to the lead. Kaylin, a close second. Here we go. What are qualities of clay in the leather hard stage? Select all the ones that are correct. Leather hard clay is strong but still workable. It's the best stage for joining, and some, but not all of the water has left the clay. Very good. And Krish and Kaylin hang on to the spots 1 and 2. Next question. What are qualities of clay in the bone dry stage? Select all the correct answers. Bone dry clay has no water left in it. It seems hard, but it's also very fragile, and it's ready to be fired the first time. Very good. And Kaylin takes the lead. All right. Good job, Kaylin. Next question. What are the qualities of clay in the bisqueware stage? Select all the ones that are correct. Bisqueware is not able to be recycled. It has been fired one time, and it is ready to glaze. Very good. And Kaylin hangs on to the lead. Next question. What are the qualities of glazeware? Oh, that was really fast. Shiny and colorful, fired 2 times, and it is food safe. Good. And Kaylin hangs on to that lead. Krish, a close second. Next, true or false? Is this a static composition? True, that was a static composition. The animal was left to right, leading our eye left to right in a straight line. And Kaylin hangs on to the lead. Next question, true or false? Is this a dynamic composition? Yes, that cat's body was curled in a dynamic composition. Very good. And Kaylin hangs on to that lead again. Next, is this a sculpture? This was not a sculpture. This was a vessel, a mug meant to hold a beverage. Kaylin hangs on to that lead. Next, true or false? Is this a sculpture? Yes, so quick. Yes, that was a sculpture of a sleeping fox. And Kaylin hangs on to that lead again. All right. What is Miss Schmidt's favorite animal? This is a tough one. Oh, you guys knew it. Yay, very good. Sloth is my favorite animal. Finally, there's no wrong answer here. How are you going to do on today's quiz? Yay, I love that positivity. If you feel like you need a little bit of review, further review, go back and look over your notes or watch over this video again. I'm recording it and I'll post it later. All right, let's see how we did. Caitlin, 3rd place. Krish, 2nd place. So that means in 1st place, Kaylin. Awesome job. Claire and Giovanna, good job as well. All right. That was awesome. You guys did a really great job. Thanks for playing along. Okay, so I'm going to stop presenting here. So, Kaylin, you're exempt from doing the quiz today. You just did your quiz. You got full credit on your quiz. You can still do it for fun if you want, but I will also be entering your grade of a perfect 30 out of 30. So you will not have to take the quiz. Everybody else, you will be taking the quiz today after I take attendance, which is going to happen right now. So again,